Hi all and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. This show is called Earth Revocation. This is really not a show. It's a public announcement, and this is an event that may not be fully recognised by you all today, but over time the importance of today will be garnered and recorded in our history, not their history. But I suspect by the end of this event, all of you will feel a lot lighter. So what is revocation? The act of revoking or annulling the reversal of a thing done by the revoker or his predecessor in the same authority. The calling back of a thing granted, or the making void of some deed previously existing. Also, the state of being revoked or annulled, reversal, repeal, annulment, as in the revocation of a will. During today's show, you will all be asked to repeat 4 statements being read out near the end of the show. Be loud and be clear with your statements. This is important that your voice is heard. This show will have more relevance than you will all realise. I hope you've all made sure that you're grounded and centred for this show, and it is imperative to shield up and ward off those that have threatened us today. We will not bow to their threats. We will not cower in fear. We will stand strong together. Remember, they attack us not because we are weak, but because we are strong. Hi all. This show comes about due to this day being the shortest day of the year, that is shrouded in mystery, myth, fantasy and riddles, and today is known as the winter solstice. Now, many people around the northern hemisphere celebrate this day, like they celebrate many other days in the annual calendar, knowing little of or about what they are actually celebrating. Our inability to question or research the past narrative has proven time and time again to not be as presented, and has come at a great cost for humanity. We will hear what happens at the festivals around the world, and we will be better able to discern what this day and other days are all about. Many celebrations, and this one in particular, can be placed under the category of the New Age movement, which on the face of it all sounds so appealing. But this show, and Randy's in particular, have pulled back the mask of the New Age, a skillfully crafted replacement program for the failing religions. The appearance of something different and better, but it was shrouded in a cloak of mist and the world of illusion, mired in a thinly veiled application of sorcery and witchcraft. Today is another of those pagan-based days. Another religious group who states the opposite, but the backdrop to it is human sacrifice. And I'm calling on all who are service to others and have humanity's interest at heart today. The dark and their minions wish to stop you and us in any possible way, using spellcasts drawn from a cesspool of dark minions, using their occultic practices with witches dark and light, light witch and light magic is an illusion they have played on the people for far too long. All designed to trick the people and continue their harvesting of us. Just like the spiritual practices of the East, said to be of all love and light, and yet what we've uncovered in a short period of time is some of the most heinous anti-human practices to come out of that region. This celebration or festival and the real intentions behind it are not generally for public viewing, unlike the sacrifice in India recently. This is done behind closed doors, seedy basements, underground caves away from the public glare. They contain some of the most horrific and barbaric crimes against humanity and children, all in the name of appeasing some fake god from the ancient past and some others more recent. Your real God, Source, would never demand sacrifice, never demand servitude or worshipping. It's a guide, not a dictator. We, service to others and humanity and life-based beings, have made extraordinary progress within this past decade. We have forced the hand of the dark minions to reveal themselves for what they are. That hidden hand of the left-hand path is no longer hidden, and we will see more of it next year. The darkness is that desperate, they will and have tried everything to return it back to the old ways. It's not working. Why? Because too many of humanity who do have our interest at heart have awakened from their slumber and have fought back. But we must always be vigilant. The dark forces have many minions dotted around the world, including the Dark Witch, trying to spellcast us all today out of Montana, aligned with other dark witches around the world. They are a network and a cesspool of filth. In response to our call of revocation, one of their dark magic minions made threats against me and this group in an attempt to spellcast it back to the old ways. Before we get into the background of this show, it is important to show how these people amongst us work and operate. As requested of reference back to the originator, I will oblige accordingly. These are the words of Madeline Neatane, a dark pagan witch who, it appears, revels in bitterness, mired in dark shadows, manipulative, destructive, with a dark, sinister streak, of which you can all make your own opinions from. It is indicative, as you will deduce for yourselves, of a desperate attempt to cover up crimes against humanity and the devious behind-the-scenes nature of it all to keep it covered up. Who would be so against a benevolent action of revoking the evil operated against humanity on this planet? Unless, of course, you were one of them. Her first words were, "Some of you here know that the stated war cries of a certain group that has waged a useless campaign against Primal a little over a year ago. This is her first attempt in this narrative of accusing others of doing what they and she have done. It's called reverse mirroring. She went on, this group is calling for a counterspell during the sacred winter solstice on Saturday. Sacred. What does that mean? Well, it pertains to holy, ordained rites, ceremonies, and is linked to sacrare, which means to devote to holiness or destruction. Consecrate, for those who listened to the last show about rites, R-I-T-E-S. Consecrate, holy, has a whole new meaning, all of which is related to the church. And again, we ask the question, if the church and its teachings are so benevolent, why is the world in a mess? She went on, the sad thing is it's going to be twisted into a false light saviour side show, claiming to be the warriors of light against the projected, quote-unquote, dark forces of their imaginations vying for centre stage. This person clearly doesn't listen sufficiently to our show with statements of assumption like that. And it's interesting she highlighted the dark forces as it becomes indicative. Essentially, what she's saying there, she's denying there are dark forces. Projected dark forces, she states, means she believes we are inventing the dark, and so inferring there is none, whilst highlighting it to draw attention, which is reverse mirroring of words again. I will repeat again for the hard of hearing. We are all capable of being light and dark. You have to have been both to attain the higher wisdom. But some have played dark for so long they no longer have perspective, balance, or clarity. The object, not only on this planet but throughout the universe, is to balance it. Because the dark was 87% in this universe, and it needed to be brought back to balance, largely of which has been achieved. She went on, if each individual accepts and allows it to overshadow the reality that does not include the non-existent Satan, double negative and double speak. It's all about the name, and several entities' names have come under the banner of the term Satan. The names don't matter. It is the actions of certain entities that would come under the banner of what is known as Satan or satanic, like being evil. But to deny such evil exists is indicative, and given her extensive background knowledge, it is also a cover-up. What was the old saying? It's been said that the greatest trick of the devil or Satan ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. She went on. Thomas will undoubtedly join the Abrahamic triad of false light spinners claiming the inverted warmongering of the light versus dark delusion. That whole sentence says it all. Having spent months in that group of accusing me of being anti-Semitic and racist, I'm now suddenly joining a Jewish-based religious ideology. Well, clearly she hasn't listened to any of our shows, and I think she needs a new scriptwriter. And I guess our From Russia with Love series has passed her by. I know it hasn't. As anyone who has listened would not have made such a stupid and inaccurate statement as that. But it is telling that she mentioned that. Her name is Neatain, and it's Hebrewic. Reverse wording again, telling us that she's involved in, but accusing others as a means to trash them. It's a very poor and pathetic attempt to misdirect. To turn round, and yet again she reiterates there is no light and dark battle. This is indicative of the covering up again, so people don't know or don't see the enemy, and more word magic spinning. Like I have said, time reveals all, and accusing others of what they are or doing is in epidemic mode now, as the mirror is now reversed. Oops. For further evidence of the revealing of who and what she is and what she stands for, this next line reveals all. Quote, I would rather be seen as the evil spellcaster type than to buy into their warped sense of entitlement and superiority. I have no further comment on the first part, it reveals itself. Entitlement and superiority, oh my. This is coming from the group who think they are large and I am tiny, and her comparative and competitive mindset is riddled right through this piece, and again her words are a mirror of the self. She went on, that show is over for those ready to simply walk away from it and live the life the way it was meant to be lived, a precious gift not draped in a torn and tattered war flag. That reference to war, I think that's the third or fourth time. Simply walk away from it and live the life the way it was meant to be lived. Fine by me. Or you can do what Madeline did and join a hate, envious-based group that celebrates the tragic death of someone's brother, which was perpetrated by this very woman and added to by the peanut gallery. Is that living life as it was meant to be lived, Madeline? Well, quite frankly, you can stick that with and where the sun don't shine, just like your black sun. The show is over, she said. Nearly, yes, but not for the reasons she thinks. But try telling that to the thousands of people around the world, many of whom tuned in today, who have changed their lives for the better and have credited that to our show. This same person was offered an olive branch by myself and this group, and her response was to send a raven dark magic spell cast at me. That piece was added to the show as it reveals much and is a lesson in observance. It is micro to the macro. People who haven't done their own inner work and integrated their shadows are going to sound and look more ridiculous by the day. Like I said, the mirror has reversed. They are exposing themselves with their own words and actions, which they can deny it is for another intent, but those that can see through their illusion, the message was all too clear. Why is this planet a mess? Because so many are in denial and refuse to accept their own responsibilities. Just wave a finger and point at everybody else. And this plays out on all levels, all planes of existence and other planetary systems. But the book stops with us all. Too many took the easy left-hand path and thought they had made it. I suspect the folly of that will become all too clear in the near future. This woman, instead of denigrating the people who are trying to fix hers and others' mess, chooses to use mirror magic and words to deflect away. Words spelt with an O, not a Y, which is a heads up to the fake god Yahweh. Why is this important? Why is she important? Given the fact she stated on a show with Laura Leon, who is another like Madeline out of the MK Ultra indoctrination programs, who are littered throughout the alt media to distort the picture. Paraphrasing, Madeline stated that she was the one who started the fractal virus in this universe in the past. That allowed the dark imbalance in this universe. Her words, not mine. This life she was supposed to work to correct that. She failed and played the cover-up act. This is the same woman who claimed the world is hampered by a simulation, and yet claims the simulation doesn't exist where she lives. One has to ponder, is she the simulation? Of course, in her own words, like the Illuminati and all the others, she denies the dark exists, a massive cover-up of who she is attached to, whether knowingly or not, the Order of the Black Sun. They, like she, have spent a long time covering up their existence. That is no longer an option, and hence the attacks, the spellcasts, her call to the covens to attack me and this group. After many thousands of years of remaining hidden, the real darkness is now trapped, and no escape this time. And they know it now. This is why the strikeouts, the reaction formations, and the echo chambers are reverberating back on them. Nowhere to run or hide for her and her ilk. This, contrary to the hard of hearing, is not necessarily a battle of light and dark, although they do have to be balanced. This was a battle against evil. Her and her ilk wish for the evil to continue. I and we don't. Like I've said, this is a micro to macro. What on the face of it may seem as two social media groups attacking each other, it's not. There are old souls in both groups. One group wants to fix the self and help others. One wants to spread hate anger and division. And this is what has played out all over the universe. And the ones who came here to fix this mess know exactly who she is and what she stands for. This is our response and who we are. Right, with that out of the way, let's look into how this allegedly sacred day that is celebrated around the world. And we are told that the 21st of December is the day the sun is reborn and victory over the darkness. But this is not correct. The sun in the sky is reborn on the 25th, not the 21st. It's common sense if we are using light and dark terms in relation to the sun. The 21st is the shortest day of light of the year. If it is a jewel, as stated, the light lost on that day. Surely it would be from the 25th onwards, which will become clear as we go through it. It is also stated as a celebration of fall, which has many connotations, and the beginning of winter. Why would anyone celebrate the start of winter when thousands of people in the past globally died over the winter due to cold and starvation? Celebrating the coming sacrifice is another term that's used for this festival. Now, where have we heard that before? What is also stated is it is a victory of light over the dark, which is curiously given the previous statements of denying the dark exists. So if it's not dark, light over dark, what is it all about? The 21st of December to the 24th is the 3 days of darkness in the biblical scriptures. So how can the light be victorious over the dark in 3 days of darkness? The event of more daylight than night is not until March. It's not even close. It was revealed in Madeli's own reverse mirror word magic. It is going to be twisted into a false light saviour sideshow, claiming to be the warriors of light against the projected dark forces. The false light, she described like the term illuminated, or the illuminated ones, or the Illuminati as they are known, are the order of the Black Sun. You see, they claim to be the light. They're neither light nor dark. Some dark have balance, but these are just plain evil. As revealed in From Russia With Love 8b, their whole manifesto, the Order of the Black Sun, is about extinguishing all living things. Their words, not mine. Their desire is to have no sunlight and eliminate all living things. The most bizarre concept of life ever uttered. But this is what happens when mired on the left-hand path. The seduction is all so powerful, and why so many of them, like Madely, are involved in witchcraft and dark sorcery. They like the power and the self-importance of it, that somehow they are more special than the rest. Power, as they say, corrupts, and these dark minions are corrupted and warped in equal measure. So let's look at some of what these festivals are about around the world, and we're going to start with Iran. Iranians around the world celebrate Yalda, Y-A-L-D-A, which is one of the most ancient Persian festivals after the Aryans, not before. The festival dates back to the time when the majority of Persians were followers of Zoroastrianism prior to the advent of Islam. On the Yalda festival, Iranians celebrate the arrival of winter, the renewal of the sun, and the victory of light over darkness, considered to be the longest night of the year. Yalda, which means birth, is a Syriac word imported into the Persian language. Unbeknown to the modern-day Iranians, but not the Hebrewic sub-grey race within their midst, Yalda is a shortened version of Yaldabaoth, which is the demiurge. Oops. The demiurge arrogantly declares that he has made the world by himself. He is the God above God. Now the Archon ruler, who is weak, has 3 names, as is stated in the scriptures. The first name is Yaldabaoth, the second is Saklas, meaning fool, and the third is Samael. Samael literally means blind God or God of the blind in Hebrew. This being is considered not only blind or ignorant of its own origins, but may in addition be evil. Well, it is. And he is impious in his arrogance, which is in him. For he said, quote, I am God, and there is no other God beside me. For he is ignorant of his strength, the place from which he had come. Yaldabaoth is frequently called the lion face, Leontoides, and is said to have the body of a serpent. So now you know why so many of the bloodline families have lions on their crest. The lion and the serpent, oh my. Sometimes he is also identified with Jau Adonai, which is the unspoken name of the God of the Hebrews and the Jews, and is said to be the creator of the Hebrews. But this next line is interesting in light of From Russia with Love series. His hieratic attitude indicates Egyptian origin. Now, Samael is part of the Qalipoth, which is the tree of death, also known as the Kabbalah tree, perhaps also known as Ilanaut. Maybe we'll see that later. The prince of all demons, the spouse of Lilith, oh my, who is the Kali Ma. Connecting the dots now. This celebration of Yalda is also referred to as Shab-e-Shaleh, a celebration of winter solstice on December the 21st, the last night of fall and the longest night of the year. Ancient Persians believed that evil forces were dominant on the longest night of the year, and that the next day belonged to the Lord of Wisdom, Ahura Mazda. The ancient Persians were correct. The evil forces are dominant on that night, just like Halloween, another celebration mired in sacrifice and the dark spirits. But they're also prevalent on the preceding 3 nights as well. The dark dances in the dark for those who cannot see. So what essentially Madeley and her ilk are trying to do is to keep that practice going. There are no ifs or buts. She stated it and called in her coven friends to keep it going. In addition to Iran, Central Asian countries such as Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and some Caucasian states such as Azerbaijan and Armenia share the same tradition and celebrate Yalda Night annually at this time of the year. Well, they would. They were taken over by the sub-grey race who do the bidding and dirty work for the fake gods. Now, what happens in Iran on this night? Family members get together, most often in the house of the eldest member, and stay awake all night and partake of dried nuts, watermelon and pomegranates are served as supplications to God for increasing his bounty, as well as classic poetry and old mythologies are read aloud. I'd like to know what those mythologies are, as I have a feeling they'll be incantations. Iranians believe those who begin winter by eating summer fruits would not fall ill during the cold season. Therefore, eating watermelons is one of the most important traditions on this night. As the days start lengthening, ancient Iranians believed at the end of the first night of winter, which coincides with December the 21st, darkness is defeated by light, and therefore they must celebrate the whole night, which makes no sense, as we have 3 or 4 months of winter to follow. The 13th century Iranian poet Sadi writes in his book Bustan, quote, "The true morning will not come until the Yalda night is gone." One has to ask whether the true morning is referring to the morning star, which is Lucifer. After Genghis Khan and his band of sub-grey racist people ransacked Iran, which was known as the land of the Aryans, and suddenly the festival was replaced, as this passage shows. Early Christians linked this very ancient Persian celebration to Mithra, said to be the goddess of light, but is linked with Yaldabaoth, and to the birth anniversary, it is said, of the prophet Jesus, PBUH. In birth and son and prophet Jesus, PBUH, are close to each other, says one tale, Iranian tale of Yalda. Yalda Eve is the night when ancient Iranians celebrated the birth of Mithra, the goddess of light. Not quite. Now the term PBUH, which means peace be upon him, is attributed to Mohammed and not Jesus. More misdirection. Mithras is the false goddess of light ran by pagan ritual-based peoples, which is what most of our holidays or holy days are. Pagan festivals. They love these festivals for all its pageantry, or is it pagantry? Egyptians celebrated the rebirth of the sun at this time of the year, and their festival lasted for 12 days to reflect the 12 divisions in their solar calendar. The ancient Roman festivals of Saturnalia, god of agriculture Saturn, and Sol Invicta, sun god, are amongst the best known celebrations in the Western world. Now, the celebrations of the 12 zodiacs, when it's actually 13, as they deliberately leave out the hidden zodiac, which is the serpent of Ophiuchus, which could also be argued is the demiurge Yaldabaoth. And Saturn, which is Satan worship done by the disciples of Egypt's cult of Ra and their subsidiaries, the Romans. The Iranian Jews, who are amongst the oldest inhabitants of the country, in addition to Shab-e-Cheli, also celebrate the festival of Ilanaut, the tree festival, at around the same time. Now, given what was revealed in From Russia with Love and the path from India to Egypt, is it any surprise these festivals are in the southern parts of Russia also? There are also festivals in parts of southern Russia which are identical to Shab-e-Cheli with local variations. So how do the Iranian Jews celebrate this so-called sacred festival? By baking sweetbread in the shape of humans and animals. Bonfires are lit around which people danced and made movements resembling crop harvesting. Oh dear. The Jewish festival depicting humans to be consumed. Bonfires symbolizing the real meaning of Holocaust, which is sacrifice by fire. Please don't tell me it's just symbolic. Go and read the Talmud and you'll find out why it's not just symbolic. The Ilanaut, the tree festival, is the origin of the modern day Christmas tree. Samael and Quilloth, and that is what your Christmas tree is symbolizing. Scandinavia next. The pagan Scandinavian and Germanic people of Northern Europe celebrated a 12-day midwinter holiday called Yule, Y-U-L-E. And many modern-day Christmas traditions, such as the Christmas tree, the Christmas wreath. Wreath is another term meaning to bind, and also a tribute to the dead. The Yule log and others are direct descendants of the Yule customs. Scandinavians still call it Yule, spelt J-U-L. In English, the word Yule is often used in combination with the season Yuletide, reference to the sea. And that usage was first recorded in 900. But Yule was originally a pagan feast until it was taken over by Christianity. Their words, not mine. Exactly the same as the Easter and Christmas. And the real intentions behind it and them are unpleasant at best. It is believed that the celebration of this day was a worship of these particular days interpreted as the reawakening of nature. The Yule, Jul, particular god was Jolner, which is one of Odin's many names. The concept of Yule occurs in a tribute poem to Harald Harfiger from about 900 AD, where someone said drinking Yule was the prevalent thing to do. All eerily reminiscent of drinking the blood of Christ, is it not? Why do we say that? Because the word behind it is Yule blot. Blot in Scandinavia, like blood and bloodseeing, mean blood. And Yule blot is the most solemn sacrifice feast, it is called. At the Yule blottet, sacrifices were given to the gods to earn blessing, you heard about that on Thursday, on the forthcoming germinating crops. Now, Jubilatet was eventually integrated into the Christian Christmas, and it's further proof your Christmas holiday is nothing to do with Jesus and everything to do with paganism, their witchcraft, and their sacrificial nature. Some could say, upon reflection, that I may sound a bit like the Grinch. You're ruining our holidays, as the evidence is destroying our special holidays. You have to understand, these days are not for us, but against us. They're not really our days, they're their days. These people are sick, remember, but we're a bit stupid to add to the mix. Think about it for a second. I'll actually think about it for more than a second so it sinks in. These sacrifices of humans have gone on all over the world, in all cultures, and all religious and spiritual-based practices. Why on Source's earth would we celebrate the killing of one of our own? I will ask that again to get it to sink into people's thinking. Why on Source's earth would we celebrate the killing of one of our own? It is the equivalent of giving military badges out for killing people. It's completely insane thinking. And humanity has to start thinking in a better way. You kill people, here, have a badge. You sacrifice people, have a party, and let's all get pissed and be merry. It's beyond madness. And it's childlike thinking, not adult-based. These are not our days. They're their days to celebrate death over us. Think different is not a cliche. It is a requirement for the development of our species. Hi all and welcome back. We're going to continue going around the world finding out what these festivals are about. And the next one is the Roman cult of Sol. Sol Invictus, called the Unconquered Sun, and was originally attributed to a Syrian god who was later adopted as the chief god of the Roman Empire under the Emperor Aurelian. Now, his holiday was traditionally celebrated on December the 25th again, as are several gods associated with the winter solstice in many pagan traditions. And like I said, it's been speculated to be the reason behind the Christmas proximity to the solstice. It's not speculation at all, it's fact. The unconquered sun is a direct reference to the black sun. East Asian. In East Asia, except in the Philippines, the winter solstice has been celebrated as one of the 24 solar terms called Dongzi in Chinese. In Japan, in order to not catch a cold in the winter, there is a custom to soak oneself in the yuzu hot bath. And the winter solstice was immensely important because the people were economically dependent on monitoring the progress of the seasons. And here is the kicker, as mentioned earlier. Starvation was common during the first months of winter, January to April in the Northern Hemisphere or July to October in the Southern Hemisphere, also known as the famine months. Lots of humanity died in the past through winter. In fact, many still do. And this is something to be celebrated. In temperate climates, the Midwinter Festival was the last feast celebration before deep winter began. Most cattle were slaughtered so they would not have to be fed during the winter. So it was practically almost the only time of the year when a plentiful supply of fresh meat was available. The majority of wine and beer made during the year was finally fermented for this time of the year and ready for drinking at this time. Of course, that was to bring in the spirits via possession, to coincide with the festival of darkness. Now, the concentration of observances was not always on the day commencing at midnight or at dawn, but at the beginning of what was called the pagan day. This is in the East, which in many cultures fell on the previous eve. Yes, the pagans did it at Eve, which is Lilith. And just so happens to coincide what is known as the witching hours. Midnight to 4 a.m. are the witching hours due to human PSI fields being at their lowest point during those hours. So witches who are mediums to call in the spirits so they can manifest in the physical and then host bodies on the physical plane. And yet some think this is a good practice to be undertaken. Witches and pagans are linked for a reason. And this is why it matters not whether they call themselves light or dark witches. They are one and the same. All of it is to feed the dark order of the black sun. We are told that the spiritual practices of the East is different to the West, but the practice just stated at the beginning, the pagan day, tells you different. Now, paganism is described as non-Christian or non-Jewish, and yet it is the foundation of both religious structures and their ceremonies mired in sacrifices, witchcraft and sorcery. Because the event was seen as the reversal of the sun's ebbing presence in the sky, the concepts of the birth or rebirth of the sun gods have been common, and in cultures which used cyclic calendars based on the winter solstice, the year as reborn was celebrated with reference to life, death, rebirth deities, or new beginnings, such as Hogmanay's Reading, which is a New Year cleaning tradition. Also, the reversal, which is another frequent theme, as in Saturnalia's slave and master reversals that took place in their festivals. Hogmanay, whilst it has no particular etymology available, it does speak of being linked to the elves and the story of the elves killing the trolls. So yet again, it's another death ritual celebration. As for the elves, Batman, anyone? And it's like the July the 12th in Ireland, and something a few still celebrate. The glorious 12th it is called, when Irish people celebrate killing other Irish people, ignoring the fact that it was the Dutch and the Catholic Church who did it. Again, it's stupid thinking, celebrating killing each other. Now, also part of these festivals is the mistletoe. And given the witching hours and possession mentioned earlier, and add in the reference to the tree, be it the Ilianaut, Kabbalah or Qiploth, and perhaps a picture emerges. The mistletoe is the English common name for the most obligate hemi-parasitic plant. They are attached to their host tree or shrub by a structure called haustorium, hostage, through which they extract water and nutrients from the host plant. Their parasitic lifestyle has led to some dramatic changes in their metabolism. Mistletoe species grow on a wide range of host trees, some of which experience side effects including reduced growth, stunting and a loss of infested outer branches. A heavy infestation may also kill the host plant. All very symbolic, is it not? Why or how? Because it's like its counterpart for inducing the parasitic host via alcohol. The mistletoe, like alcohol, is toxic in nature, and effects of consuming it include blurred vision, diarrhea, nausea and vomiting. Just like alcohol then. Vomiting is the body's way of telling you you have something inside of you that shouldn't be there, like a host. And that is far more prevalent than many people think. The term another round of drinks springs to mind. Round equals circle, which is the same shape the witches' covens create to open the portal and bring in the spirits. Still want another round? Now in Rome, the hanging mistletoe was part of the Saturnalia festival, which just happens to coincide with the winter solstice. Coincidence again. And that festival is indicative also. It runs from December 17th through to the 23rd. Why? Because Ophiuchus is behind the sun November the 29th through December the 18th. Coincidence? The Saturnalia festival starts on the night before. Why? Because it's Eve again. So what happens at the Saturnalia festival? The holiday was started off and was celebrated with a sacrifice at the temple of Saturn. Slaves were given the night off and plied with plentiful of alcohol. Oh my. Feasts for the spirit world via alcohol. Saturnalia, it is said, may have influenced some of the customs associated with later celebrations in Western Europe occurring in midwinter, particularly traditions associated with Christmas, the Feast of the Holy Innocents, and the Epiphany. Just a reminder of what the Feast of the Holy Innocents was about. Herod, the king of the Jews, but based predictably in Egypt, who had the second temple of Jerusalem. And like I have stated, all temples are sacrifice centres for humans and animals. All of them. He ordered the slaughter of all children under the age of 2 in the vicinity of Bethlehem. And this festival is still celebrated today by both Jewish and Catholics alike. One has to ask, what part of holy does that come under? These people are sick. So sick, they included it in the New Testament under the Gospel or Gospel of Matthew. Estimates of the slain children is varied from 14,000 to 64,000, and the Hebrewic figure added of possibly as many as 144,000. Either way, the death of one child is a sacrilege, and these people are celebrating killing thousands of them. What type of thinking is that? A reference to the reverse word spelling done earlier by Madeley of the Abrahamic God. According to Jewish extra-biblical traditions, King Nimrod, possible another name for the destroyer, saw a sign in the skies predicting the birth of Abraham, who is one of them, not one of us, and ordered the slaughter of infant children to avoid it. What a lovely religion that is. Not. So there you have it. A cross-reference around the world of what happens on the so-called sacred winter solstice. Who are they worshipping or celebrating? Celebrate means to perform publicly with appropriate rites. Rites like testament and covenant means to bind. Like being baptized, it is called the rite of baptism, where they pour water over the head This is a reference to the Holy See and be over one's head. Being over one's head means in debt. And it's where the term drowning in debt originates, and subsequently its servitude to the church. That is the symbolic purpose of the rite of baptism. Celebrate indeed. In fact, it is the celebrating the evils of darkness, and Madeline and her coven friends want all this to continue, the sacrificing of humans. These people are evil, pure and simple. And it makes sense now when she was joyfully taunting Kim on the death of her brother. It's what they do. And it's just pure evil. This woman and her ilk need to be named and shamed and removed from the alt media platform altogether. There is nothing sacred at all about the Winter Festival. No matter how much you twist it in your warped mind, the evidence is overwhelming. To that group that houses this woman, look, I get you don't like me too much, and personally I don't give a monkey's whether you do or you don't. Your opinions have proven to be false repeatedly, and we can differ on the reasons behind that thinking. But the question is this the type of person you want alongside you? Bearing in mind you already have a pedo and a child trafficker in that group. You know, it's one thing to look and act stupid. It's another to support evil. And I'm putting you all on notice in that group, and we will name and shame you all should you continue to support this woman and her coven after today's evidence. With all the evidence, you become complicit in her dark deeds and actions. Killing children, sacrificing humans, inducing body possession, and celebrating dark demiurges over the light. These practices that has largely been hidden to the human population until now, and it needs to be known far and wide and closed down once and for all. Sacred celebration indeed. Yes, if you are pure evil. This song has been on my mind all year. A message from the universe. And I've attempted to play it several times and the voice says not yet. Why will become clear. The Southern Cross is mired in the Jesus and Easter story. We'll be back shortly. Hi all and welcome back. Like I said, that song's been on my mind all year. And I knew it was significant, more so of this time. In the lyrics, which those of you familiar with THI shows, there's always a hidden meaning. And the songs are tailored in the show to reflect what has just been said or what's coming up. So we're going to take a close look at what the lyrics contain. Like I say, they always have to tell you what they're doing. That gets them, or did get them by cosmic law. Now the opening line, if there isn't light when no one sees, then how can I know what you might believe? This means we are operating in a world of darkness. There isn't light and no one sees. The next line, a story told that can't be real, somehow must reflect the truth we feel. That's the double speak again, representing the brainwashing. Fact is fiction, and fiction is fact. Fade away, vanish into smoke. That's the reference to the dark spirits, the jinn. Fade away, break the crystal ball. Oh. That is the reference to the witchcraft after they open the portal and summon them in. It's the sign, feels like the time. It is the time, but not their time. Not this time. Yes, this was the time of the year they called in the Dark Destroyer. In their twisted minds, because the light sun had died on the cross, the Southern Cross, their black sun arose with no light. If there isn't light and no one sees, this is what it signifies. The second verse is very esoterical. On a small world west of wonder, somewhere, nowhere, oh, there's a rainbow that will shimmer when the summer falls. That small world that is west of wonder is earth. The wonder is the sun. And reference to the east gate. The rainbow you have to find yourself as part of your own journey of discovery. And then the line that kept playing to me all year. If an echo doesn't answer when it hears a certain sound, what this is referring to is the call that went out to the light and we didn't respond, or too few did. And because we didn't respond, the next thing happened. Then the beast is free to wander, but never is seen around. This is what the winter solstice is all about. The beast walked amongst us and spread darkness via the order of the Black Sun, Rahu, and their various coven-based cults. We never saw it, but we certainly felt it. And at great cost to life on this planet. People may argue that it's because of winter that the seasonal affected disorder takes place in these months. One could argue it's the effect of this beast being felt. It's the sign of the Southern Cross. Sail away to the sign. And the sign was the constellation of the Southern Cross, which is behind the sun on the winter festival, as they call it. To us, it is the sacrifice and host possession event. Harvest and not crops, which they speak of. Why? Because the harvesting of crops is in late August through October, not the end of December. The harvest wasn't crops, it was us. From the book, the word is spoken, whispers from forgotten psalms. They whispered it in their books. And psalm means song of King David, who's the son of Solomon, both of which who sold out to the dark. In fact, Solomon bound the most darkest demons to this planet for 3,000 years until December last year. The next line. Gather all around the young ones. They will make us strong. Oh dear. This is a reference to the feeding of the young via adrenochrome or blood. Harvesting of the children. The reference to the 72 virgins applies not in death, but in life on this physical plane. Isn't that right, so-called Chinese elders who did it last year? Reach above your dreams of pleasure, giving life to those who died. Giving life to those who died. This is their reanimation and avatar program, as portrayed by Vishnu, Shiva, and others. Marduk also. They came in different avatars. The names change, the entity doesn't. Don't live for pleasure. Make life your treasure. Yes, they stole all our treasures, including the children. 8 miles high, about to fall, and there's no one there to catch you. Look for the sign, the time, the sign of the Southern Cross. So, what is so significant about the Southern Cross? Because it is a reference to the allegorical story of the one they call Jesus. They wrote of what is an actual celestial event into 2 separate stories of what were both pagan sacrifice festivals to the Easter and the Christmas narrative. They wrote a story about the winter solstice being an Easter narrative, and they changed the sun, spelled S-U-N, into sun, S-O-N. On December the 21st, the shortest day and the winter solstice, the sun goes down below the horizon for the next 3 days. Hence, the sun dies. Behind the sun in the night sky is the constellation called the Southern Cross. The sun dips below the horizon for 3 days. So the sun dies on the cross for 3 days. Then on December the 25th, the sun rises above the horizon and is reborn. So the sun died for 3 days, the 3 days of darkness, and then was reborn, and it ascends into the heavens. Sound familiar? The key to today is it is the midway point of the Saturnalia festival. And I'm going to repeat the line from the song. If the echo doesn't answer when it hears a certain sound, then the beast is free to wander, but never seen around. The beast doesn't need to be seen. It has its minions in the physical doing the bidding for it, creating contracts, binding and sacrificing us to the beast. The beast comes in many forms and under many names, and a recent one that was slayed was known as the Destroyer. This was confirmed by the Rothschilds and also the council, and has caused much uproar and a lot of chaos and discontent. Why? Because their comforter is gone now. Add to their other go-to gods now also being gone, and they are left isolated and vulnerable. But they will try everything to restore it back to what it was. Hence the reverse spellcast that Madeline and her covens were attempting today. It won't work. In my personal opinion, that is not happening. Their game and games will be coming to an end. They may try to use VI or VR as an egregore projection in here to make and put people in fear. I'm asking all on this call to vocally reject its presence in any form or consent to operating on or in this planet permanently, as it is against the peace treaty and our sovereign rights. For those who agree, say hear, hear. The next section is our revocation. I'm going to ask all on the call to speak it out. And it's our message to the councils and source. Hear, record, observe our words and honour our wishes as the guardians for this planet and the connecting planes connected to this earth. Revocation 1. We, the people of Earth, do not consent to the presence or interference of the Destroyer or minions with this planet anymore. And should you all agree to that statement, I'm asking you all now to speak loud and clear and repeat after me. We, the people, as representatives of Earth, and all living things on her, do not consent to the entity known as the Destroyer, in any form or variant name, being here or interfering here. Revocation 2. We, the people, do not consent to any of your minions via the Order of the Black Sun, the Covens, or the various pagan-based witches, magicians, or sorcerers, calling the entity or his forces forth into this realm. If you agree, speak loud and clear and repeat after me. We, the people, as representatives of Earth, and all living things on her, do not consent to any of your minions via the Order of the Black Sun, the Covens, or the various pagan-based witches. Magicians or sorcerers, calling the entity or his forces forth into this realm. Revocation 3. We the people revoke all contracts, bindings, or soul agreements with all living things done by the same dark forces and the entity. If you agree, repeat after me. We the people, as representatives of Earth, and all living things on her, revoke and annul all contracts, bindings, or soul agreements with all living things. Done by the same dark forces and the entity from this day forward, should all be revoked. Revocation 4. We the people revoke all attempts to sacrifice humans in the name of this entity with the varying names, all their minions invoking it. If you agree, repeat after me. We the people, as representatives of Earth, and all living things on her, revoke all attempts to sacrifice humans in the name of this entity. With varying names, or their minions invoking it. We the people, as representatives of Earth and all living things on and in her, guardians of the planet Earth, as one, stand by these directives. It will be forwarded directly to Source, the creator of this universe, in accordance with the peace treaty and the free will of humans. These new directives apply from this time forward for the duration of time that humanity stands as the guardians of this planet, and all the realms attached to the physical and the silver cord-based connections to the other planes. We heard the echo call, and this was our response. Thank you from the people of Earth. Hi all and welcome back. Thank you for all who took part in that. It is important. This show was written out during this week. We knew what was coming up. And it was a clarion call echoed out into the universe. The council were aware of what we were doing, and work was underway before today to make this day possible. This morning, the council responded to our call and this was their message. Today, the age of decadence amongst your elite comes to a close. Do not forget what it is to be human. Caring, sharing and loving still existed and continues to exist, regardless of the Dark One's penetration into your world. You have never lost your balance and remained a caring being of light. Not just for humans, but for us all. And for that, we thank you. We thank you for all you have done. Source is the oneness that binds us all. We are all beings of light and one in the eyes of the Creator. Today is a most important day. Do not be fearful of the coming age of the light worker. It is your time to shine, so shine brightly. You are an amazing, resilient species and a marvel of His creation, a light in the darkness. You have never lost faith and hope in us, and in the hope that one day we could all coexist as brothers and sisters in the light that binds us all, and for that we thank you. Our universe is no longer hollow. This is a direct reference to the destroyer placing a black hole in this universe that was not a natural creation. That has now been fixed. We can all rejoice and be thankful our source has returned, and this universe is safe once again for many millennia to come. We will rebuild all that has been destroyed by the Dark Destroyer. Today we invite you to celebrate with us, for today marks a momentous day not only in this universe, but in all of existence. Enjoy the beautiful display of light which pervades throughout your universe. As for Midgard, what you call Earth, the death of the Destroyer at your hands springs new hope eternal for all Earth inhabitants. This is an amazing time for you and your species. From today forward, you will feel as if a great weight has been lifted. It is a time of learning and growth. Gone is the era of stagnation, and welcome the new age of Source. Congratulate your fellow humans on a job well done. We could not have survived this without you, our dear friends. Darkness cannot coexist in the presence of light. Shine brightly, dear ones, each one of you, for this is the only way to overcome the oppressors. Each one of you has a role to play. You may think you are too small, too insignificant, but it's not true. It is the law of the universe. I will repeat, darkness cannot exist in the presence of the light of the Creator. Bask in all its glory and amazement as you watch the Creator's works permeate throughout your world. We go in peace and love of the Creator and remain forever in your debt. Abundance you have all been praying for shall now be yours. In peace, love, and in the spirit of sharing, we request you do not repeat the mistakes of your human oppressors. In peace, love, and the light of the Creator, the Universal Council. That was received this morning from the Council. As one door closes, another opens. Much work has been done to get us to this stage. Many have fallen or fell in this epic battle between light and dark, good and evil. But much work still has to be done. As guardians of this planet, we must accept responsibility for it. It is not a task to be taken lightly or ignored for someone else to do. It is your responsibility, each and every one of you. The darkness has left us with a broken and divided planet. It is up to us to rebuild it and ourselves. We will only do that by us all working together. Your goal is not to enhance you. Your goal is to enhance and inspire us all to become better beings. Our goal is to work towards restoring this planet and its people, put an end to the suffering, scarcity, violence, crimes, rituals, sacrifices, and the greed, into a planet of abundance for all, based on love, compassion, caring, sharing, and flexibility. It will not be fixed overnight. Patience and tolerance will be required, and the input of the all. Your voice must continue to be heard, and our message is loud and clear. Let yours and our lights shine brightly. My name's Thomas Williams. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. Bye for now.